I'm Stefan, and I am founder of Food Sharing Taiwan, which is an organization who tries to fight food waste in Taiwan. Yes. I start to briefly describe the project itself, which is Food Sharing Taiwan, and the idea of food sharing comes from Germany and is a project which intends to set up cooperations between stores and volunteers, so-called food savers, who are able to pick up surplus food from the stores which otherwise would be wasted. So the idea is to fight food waste through that. And at the moment the project, I would say, is divided in three parts. The first is the food sharing itself, which is the cooperations between the stores and the volunteers. Then there's public places where people can exchange surplus food, like public fridges. And then the third point is more an educational approach or community where, or also networking, where different groups can work together on the issue of food waste, and also we ideally will be able to educate people about the issue, because I think a lot of people don't really know about the dimensions of food waste. Like, I guess a lot of people have heard about food waste, but actually they are not aware that there's like 1/3 of all food is wasted. And so education is one important point, and another important point is to save food, like kind of save food that is normally wasted but still is eatable, so eat it instead of waste it. Okay, why I made this website is basically because in Germany I was very engaged in food sharing, because in 2012 some people, mostly who were into dumpster diving before. I don't know if everybody knows what's dumpster diving, but dumpster diving is basically people who go to the dumpster of stores where all the wasted food is thrown away, and then they jump into or dive into the dumpster and they look for food which is still eatable. Because there is so much food which inside these dumpsters which is still completely fine, even not expired, like it's completely good to eat. So in Germany a lot of people did that before, and then some people in Berlin thought, why do we always go to the dumpster and dive for food, if we maybe can try to just ask the stores if before they throw it away they maybe give it to us. And then one crucial part was a legal issue, that the stores they throw away all the food because they are afraid if some people eat it and they got it from the store, they will become sick, right? And then they might sue the supermarket. So these people in Germany just had the very simple idea to have a contract between the store, like a disclaimer, and say, we take all your food, which if it's expired or whatever, and it's all on our own risk, like we will do the thinking for you, and we use our brain to decide if the food is eatable or not, and upon that we will decide if we eat it or not, and it's there's no risk for you. So there's a lot of benefits, because in Germany also food waste is charged per weight. So the supermarkets, they can also save some money, because they don't have to pay for the disposal. Just the volunteers, they will pick it up. And also they can do, it's like good for the image, right? Because a lot of them are organic stores, so they can actually say, hey, we are not wasting food. We give food to volunteers, and we like kind of donate it. So that's good for them, and for the volunteers who pick up the food, they actually contribute to kind of environmental protection and reduction of food waste. And of course also they are able to get some food which often is very high quality, because a lot of the cooperating stores are organic stores. So if I did dumpster diving, when I did dumpster diving before, sometimes the food I get is worth a lot of money, because it's very high quality food, and it's maybe sometimes it's expired, maybe just one day, but I personally think everybody just can use their own sense, like maybe smell food or just look at it and then decide if they want to eat it or not. Because before a lot of my food, actually I got through food sharing. So when I came to Taiwan and I had to go to a supermarket to buy my food again, I realized that I kind of miss food sharing because I miss to get the food from it, and I also miss to work on food waste through it. And then I thought, hey, there's also so much food wasted in Taiwan, so maybe I just start to set up something similar here. And then when I walked around in Taipei, I saw so many bakeries and coffee shops, and bakeries are the ones which also throw away a lot of food because they always have to offer fresh bread. So most bakeries, for sure, they will have a lot of leftover bread at the end of every day, because whenever their customer comes, maybe just 5 minutes before they close, and he wants to buy a lot of bread, they always need to have some fresh bread. So I just contacted some of the bakeries in Taipei, and finally one bakery said they like my idea and they like that I try to work on this issue, and they are willing to support me. And then since 2016, we pick up bread at their bakery every day. And now we are trying to expand and find more bakeries. There are some problems. I mean, maybe the biggest problem is that this whole approach of food sharing and the idea to save and consume food that from most people is considered as waste is very new to Taiwan. So for a lot of people, they think if this food is considered as trash, it should be thrown away and it cannot be eaten. So I think there's a lot of it takes a lot of time to educate people and to explain them that the food is still completely fine, that you still can eat it, and we are still working on it, right? So I guess a lot of groups in Taiwan working on that. The same with ugly fruits, right? The ugly fruits, they might look not perfect, but they are still completely fine, right? So I think that's a problem, like a big problem, to get more people to understand that food waste is a big issue and everybody can actually contribute and help to reduce food waste. And another problem for Mike or our group, in fact, is that we all run this as a side project. Like most of the people who help me, they are students or they are working full time. So they're working full time in their jobs. So all the stuff we are doing, we have to do as a side project, right? So we are already very busy. We don't really have any funding. I mean, we just won a grant this year, so we now have some funding. But in the beginning, initially when we started, I was still a student by then, and of course for me also language is a problem. So I had to look for friends who helped me, and luckily there were some people who helped me. But for all of us, it's very difficult because we don't do this full time, right? We all have a lot of other stuff to do, so it's difficult for us to commit to this project, and it's sometimes hard to find time to do all this. Why I see there's also a lot of other projects in Taiwan where people are able to work full time, right? And for us, it's more like everybody tries to support a project in their free time. So I think that's was one issue, and maybe another issue is very practical stuff in the beginning. Maybe to find volunteers, and then to make sure the volunteers are reliable, because basically what we are doing is we need people to pick up bread, and I always make very clear people need to be in time because the stores cannot wait for the people to come to pick it up. So also I have to control people, right? Because of course it can happen that people are too late, but then they need to find a way to find someone else to go, or we need to call the bakery and say, oh sorry, we cannot come today. So that's something I had to take care of. And maybe another thing also, when we set up the first public fridge, when we were looking for a place to set it up, it was a little bit difficult to find the right place because we, as I said, we don't really have money. So we needed to find someone who could pay the at least pay the electricity, right? And a lot of places where I went in the beginning, they said, oh yeah, the idea is not bad, but who is going to pay electricity bill, right? And then luckily we find the Bandu Cafe, who was very nice, and they even cover the electricity bill for us. That's the initial problems, and I think now we still have some problems, but everything is at least a little bit more stable, but we are still very small. From my experience, one issue is there are many groups, but they are not really cooperating, or there's also very bad networking. Like, for example, there might be groups in Taipei who know each other, but when I go to Taichung, then there might be also different groups, and nobody knows about anybody. And another issue is, also, I mean, it's all just from my experience. Another issue is lots of them are like very tiny groups, or maybe student groups. And what I also experienced so far is, like, I found some groups and I tried to contact them, and then lots of them are not active anymore just because they were student groups and people now graduated. And I also worked with groups together before, and the same happened. As soon as people graduated, they were all busy with finding a job, and so finally, like, just all their work ended, right? Like, nobody was able to continue. So that's what happened to me so far. Your idea is to kind of promote the issue of food waste in a more fashionable way. I think the idea is quite a nice idea, but so far I also cannot, it all depends on the results, right? Because I think what you tell me so far is you want to set up a website, but then we need to find a way to how to have enough people go and visit the website, right? Because it's the same about me or our website or our maybe app. If the app is very nice, but we don't have people to use it, then that doesn't really help, right? So I like the idea, and I think also I know about other groups who try to work on something similar, and I think it's probably a nice way to do it. And I mean, it's always good people are working on food waste, and this maybe is probably another nice approach.